And hi guys, and welcome to this live and to this video about how all the people that actually don't like the femstodes and think that they're totally defying the lore and the gravity of 40k are actually outraged for absolutely no reason at all. So we're going to talk about that now, and we have here a video by BitsHammer, and I have actually covered BitsHammer before when it was all the situation about the female Astartes. That was like a year ago, and even I kind of forgot about that by this point. And it was about Major Kill, and then it was about the Templin Institute and what he or whatever this channel said about female Astartes, and this was like only a freaking speculation back then. I mean, it wasn't real. It's something that people were talking about for years, and we are still talking about it now. But more, more like on the front of things now are female Custodes, of course. So he made this video, and somewhere at the 22 minute mark and the 45-second of it, we will see exactly where, but around that mark, he's actually showing one of my videos here that wasn't about female Custodes. So it's a bit like out of context situation. We are going to reach that part, of course, of the video, and I'm going to cover exactly everything up to that part. He's also showing art, and then he starts talking kind of like in a different direction. So this video is super long, as you can see. It's 1 hour, and what's that, 7 minutes? I have something that is a huge water bottle. Yes, 7 minutes. Yeah, so I cannot cover the whole thing. This stream is going to be 5 hours, and it's already freaking late where I am, but this was like the first time that I could be here and stream. So we are going to take a look at his arguments, of course, and we are going to talk about them. Now, I got a few reports and information about other things that BitsHammer have done, which are another topic, but yeah, I mean, let's just get through this video because it is, 20 minutes is enough long. So let's hear it. Let's hear it, guys.
This was not the video I initially planned to make. See, I actually planned to make a video about the Custodes change basically within the first week. But I am very poor at this whole work-life balance thing where I spend too much of my time and energy doing a day job and not enough time and energy working on anything else to include scripting videos or editing videos, to the point where I had to do a new version of this video because Games Workshop did a price increase, and I had to change how I was addressing certain things because we're seeing different patterns from the company than they were a couple years ago. Because one of the things I try to do is I try to account for as many variables as possible when discussing certain topics such as how a company is run. So why am I still talking about the Custodes after a month? Well, at the time of recording, we're actually watching some, potentially hilarious fallout from a vocal minority of the community.
Okay, vocal minority. That is great, guys. But we are not a minority. And I see also in between my own comment section and people that I know that a lot of people that have nothing to do with YouTube, they have nothing to do, they're not content creators like me or anything like that. They're just fans. They're just genuine fans for more than 30 years now, since the very beginning, and they just cannot accept this. They don't like this. So it's not manufacturers, it's not a vocal minority, it's literally veterans of 40k that just don't like this change. So this is already false. We are not a vocal minority. It's quite the opposite. GW is changing the Custodes for a vocal minority. That's the irony of it. That's the actual truth.
Community who swears up and down that Games Workshop is ruining everything, so they tried to run off and join Trench Crusade, found out that that Discord server was run by a group that was not inviting to them, got kicked out of there, and are throwing a fit. All because Games Workshop put women into the Custodian Guard.
Well, okay, the story about the Trench Crusade thing is like totally separate thing. Although, yes, people went there. They thought that this is going to be something a lot better, but it turns out that it isn't. It's quite the opposite, actually. It's a lot worse because, unlike 40K, the Trench Crusade is probably going to be very much filled in with some DAI politics since the very beginning. Also, a ton of themes that kind of more leaning towards certain aspects of religious propaganda or something, which in context, in world, may make sense and may not connect at all to the real world and may be okay in that current setting and what the setting is trying to be. But we don't know yet, so we can't actually go out with the pitchforks before this game is actually out. But there are a lot of things that did happen, and they are not very good things. The way that the developers also are acting, and before that, the 28 Max server that was hosting the whole thing. So it's not fun. I mean, to laugh out loud, so to speak, or to make fun of real fans that really don't want outside things getting in the middle of their hobby. So it's not fun to make fun of the people that really wanted, something to direct their attention to. I mean, how is that funny? They were just genuine fans. They just wanted something else, but that something else turned out to be even more of a what storm. So yeah, but still, guys. I mean, about Trench Crusade, we have to wait and see. Just that it did turn into a crappy storm. So yeah, we'll see.
This honestly, that watching just the complete clown show that has been that part of the online community around Warhammer has been frankly hilarious because there's a
Okay, it's really not at all fair to go once again genuine fans that really are concerned about what's happening here. I mean, one of my own friends just hates everything 40K now, and it's just so sad to see that. So it's like, BitsHammer, you're making fun of people that genuinely just wanted whatever they had to be that. Just simple as that. And hi Kit in the chat, hi to you.
clear sign that a lot of the most vocal of them don't even understand Warhammer. But really, before we get too deep in,
Okay, wait, the gaslighting overall here is just so heavy that it's like a huge fog by this point. Okay, so we established that most people that are really angry about this are people that are true fans that actually understand Warhammer. Now, if he's talking about YouTubers, like the Critical Drinker, for example, and some of the others that maybe are not that familiar with 40K, not true fans really of 40K, they were just covering the story. That's different. They kind of like did their journalist slash YouTuber job to cover this. And a lot of people can understand where Warhammer fans are coming from because the principle that has been broken throughout all things that we are watching in general, all the other universes that were destroyed by identity politics and so on. And if you hear something, my apologies, it's just puppies. Puppies, okay. More puppies. I'm gonna cut that. Puppies again. I'm going to cut that later so nobody has to listen to puppies barking. Just great stuff. Okay. So after we established, and thank you puppies for breaking my train of thought. Thank you very much. So, yeah. after we established that yes, there are some people that actually cover this and they don't know the lore and everything, that doesn't mean that they cannot understand what was actually happening, which was very clearly understood because such principles in other universes have been broken as well to introduce something that wasn't there before. In this case, female custodies were never a thing, and GW said that they were a thing when they were never a thing, and they said that they were always a thing. That's an issue. And hi to you, Barzeo, in the comments. Hi to you. I think part of the manufactured outrage is also to divert your attention, so you're paying attention to that instead of all the subtle stuff the slip into. Aha. Well, once again, I mean, truth be told, guys, there's no manufactured outrage. You cannot quote manufactured outrage those people that cover the story but they're not fans, because this is their job, firstly, and secondly, they didn't get things wrong. They didn't get anything wrong. What they said was true. They got everything correctly, that female custodies were put out of nowhere in the codex, thus in the lore. They got things right. The only thing that they didn't get right was the name of the custodies. They said custodes, custodes, custodies, so many custa something, but not custodies. So that was the funny thing. That's really the funny thing. But what it really, really, really mattered, they got it, which was the story. So it's not manufactured. That's gaslighting directly right there. If you say that people are covering the story and running with it, if it's true, they also don't like it because they're against identity politics. They are also against wokeness. They're against ruining other universes or universes in general. So all of those people like the critical drinker that are not, Warhammer fans, they actually get it right. So it doesn't matter if they're not Warhammer fans if they get right the story. And that's not manufactured outrage. They covered how people were feeling the way that I did, because it's me, I'm also a fan. I also feel this way. Although we should not talk about feelings here, because actually it's not about even feelings, it's about literal and objective perspective of people that have been with 30K, have been supporting GW for so many years. And all of a sudden for GW to be like, oh no, there has always been female custodies, it's literal disrespect, gaslighting to people. Yes, lying to them directly in the face, and being extremely dismissive of everyone that ever respected them and actually gave them their hard-earned money. So here's how you can see that there's no manufactured outrage at all, because most of people that actually said anything about this in social media are the actual fans that just have access to the internet. They can speak their mind on the internet. Those are the clients, those are the customers. And then, other people that covered it, and fans that are also, content creators like me covered it, people that are not, but they know that the principle is broken and how these things work, they also covered it, got it right. So it's all good. So to say that all of that is manufactured is ridiculous. It's literally another gaslight and another lie. But yeah, continuing.
Into all this, I'm going to be discussing things about how Game Workshop is run, and certain things that from an American perspective I can see that they are doing. And I clarify this not only because clearly my voice tells you that I am not British, but I also cannot spend my time going through the trash at Nottingham to figure out why they do certain things. The best I can do is try to understand from my understanding how businesses work, thanks to a couple of years of, business courses at college.
Okay, well, if you're not going to go and see, I mean, you can't go, we cannot all directly go to GW and ask them, hey, how do you run exactly your business and why you decided this? And then why do you think that you can make a very accurate assessment through what you know from business school? Because a lot of people also know a lot of things about business. We know how GW have run their business before. We know that they are more successful than ever, which was a part of the reports that came out, I think, before this whole femstodes things happened. So whatever they did until now, it wasn't filled with that much DEI stuff. Was okay. I mean, they were very very successful. And now after this, the stocks fell, and we'll see what happens with that. I mean, we have to wait and see. But the point is that the long-term fans that will always support them to some extent, were disrespected and decided to be just basically forgotten about by GW. So that's not a good business move in whatever way you look at it. And what to try to say to other people that were never interested in Warhammer as it is, to be like, hey, we're gonna change it so you're interested in it. But usually it's not like that. If you're attracted to a certain thing, in this case a universe, you're either, well, attracted to it, or you're not, or it's not for you, and you just go away. You don't demand for the thing to bend to your will so you can capture it and be yours so you can be a part of it. That was never how it works. You usually watch something or participate in something, you see if you like it, and then you join it or you go away. That is it. So, I mean, this is kind of irrelevant.
And just a general understanding of where Games Workshop is coming from and where I can best guess they are going, under the assumption that they are a business that likes to make money. Because all businesses, if they are run correctly, like to make money. For example, businesses that apparently do not like to make money, look at Twitter. You can see a clear difference in how companies are run. So to kind of talk about where we're going, we need to talk about how.
Although Twitter, Twitter might become something totally different very soon, and then Elon Musk to laugh out loud lastly. So I would not say anything about that just yet. And Barzeo, I'm going to read that comment, but after that I gotta focus on the video because otherwise this is going to be really very long. So I'm going to address all the comments after I'm done with the 22 something minutes that we're going to cover from this video. Okay, so you say, I think they do it to mold consumers, get rid of official consumers and replace fan base with yes, thank you consumers. Think they're going digital eventually like D&D seems to be heading. Well, they may want to do that, but if they do, that's not a good business thing to do. That's just really, really disrespectful, like I said, because the new fans will never be as loyal and will never be so consistent in general as the older fans that were literally for 30 years. I mean, how many universes you can think of that people supported them for so many years? Maybe some fans of Star Wars for sure, but how many universes are sustained for that period of time and are most successful in the current period and not before? So to ruin what is already totally working just doesn't make any logical sense business wise or any other way. If the companies that are woke and support GW and give them money to do those things, like people are saying, they have to compensate for the losses somehow that GW will have if this continues. So GW must have some kind of idea how to sustain and being keeping afloat things if they want to be dependent on some other companies instead of relying on being a very good company that is respecting their consumers, and also in return consumers respect them. But if they want to totally relinquish that business model and they want to rely on some other company, and be there basically on their beck and call, I don't know how that's better. And plus, to bend the knee to such companies means that you will be bullied and controlled in ways that you haven't before, and that's going to be very uncomfortable, I'm pretty sure, for a lot of people at GW, depending on how long are the hands of these companies, what exactly is happening there because of their influence on GW. So we just don't know that. We don't, but that is how things could be. Yeah, I agree with that, but I imagine in their line of thinking. Yeah, I mean, we just have to, take a look at the one option and the other option. In any case, we lose. We lose. And that's why we have to talk about those things and let GW know where we stand. That's extremely important. And we do know that fans can change things if we really, really try. So let's really, really try.
How we got here. And around a month ago now, from the time of the recording of this, we had the NDA on the Custodes Codex lifted on that Saturday, and then we got news that there were women in the Codex. Not the Sisters of Silence that everybody would expect, of course, but female custodians. And one of the ones who's been the most interesting has been, of course, the 2-page story for Kesh, where we find out that, some people play the blood games quietly and sneakily, and some people, like Kesh, go for the most over-the-top answer possible. And, I enjoy it because that flair for the dramatic is an interesting character trait that was fun to kind of think about and spawned a few memes of basically anything that's going wrong on Terra is apparently now her fault as part of her blood games. Gene Stealers? That must have been Kesh. The Reign of Blood? Probably Kesh. The War of the Beast? It was Kesh. Now, obviously, we don't have any true fluff that backs this up. It's fun, kind of poke fun at things. But this had some unexpected ripples from the community. You see, we got people responding to this who...
I don't get how this is unexpected ripples from the community. And this Cash character Custodian just looks like Mary Sue by this point, which is not good for any female character ever.
Who were calling Custodes a kind of space marine, which was unusual because anybody who's been in the community longer than a week can tell just by looking at the models they are not space marines.
Okay, people that don't know what a space marine is, what is Custodian are besides the point. Those are really not fans anyway.
No, the issue with the Codex wasn't the meager 4 detachments that it got, or that...
I mean, really, that's what is that example? The fact that one, two people, and actually, we didn't see that tweet that fast. But yeah, Space Marines have literally been, what? What? Space Marines have literally been genderless since Rogue Trader? That is ridiculous. They aren't Space Marines though. These are Custodes, and they're not genderless freaking god. They're all men. Very manly men. Men that can survive and I mean reach the part where they actually become Space Marines. They're cut from the same cloth, both in universe, lore-wise, and thematically. Bullcrap, bullcrap. No, they aren't. They're entirely different. I'm not even a 40K fan, and even I know that. Yes, they're so different. Jesus Christ. But yeah, those people are the exceptions. They're not the rule. They're not the, you know, how's the best English word for that? Representative cutout. I don't know. Words.
No, the issue with
Expression.
the Codex wasn't the meager 4 detachments that it got, or that Sisters of Silence did not get any new unit options, or model kits in general, or that Games Workshop's been beating the edition with a Nerf hammer for the most part. No, that whole idea that women could be Custodes was their issue. And this was addressed even further by them claiming that the community account on Twitter was gaslighting everybody. Why? Because apparently none of them know how retcons work. You see, when a company, when someone who runs an IP or writes books or, generally has a creative universe, gives you information that changes how you perceive that universe, it creates what is called retroactive continuity, or a retcon, telling you that some Custodes are women under all that gold armor, does not mean that the models we have right now were sculpted with the intent to be women. It does not mean that we have books where the Custodes are women. What it means is that as far as the setting is concerned, there have always been women there. It doesn't mean that what we have in reality reflects that, because it obviously doesn't. Games Workshop isn't lying to us and saying that women have always existed in the model range, nor are they saying that women Custodes have always been leading books or anything.
What the heck is this gaslighting? I mean, this guy is a master of gaslighting, honestly. This is exactly what they're telling us. They're telling us there have always been female Custodes. The thing is that they forgot to write them in the lore before that. So they literally lied because there are nowhere to be found whatsoever female Custodes, not in the stories, not described anywhere, nothing, absolutely nothing. And the one example that people are giving in some of the Horus Heresy books, where Sanguinius for the first time sees golden warriors next to the emperor and he says men and women, well, yeah, of course, those are the Custodes and Sisters of Silence. They are supposed to be there next to the emperor. What is there to be wondering about and speculating about? It's obvious. Because also we get to understand when all of this happened that GW wrote this into the, I mean, this is like from right now. Before that, that was not the case. So we do know for a fact that female Custodes were written in this codex in particularly and mentioned in this codex in particularly for the first time. So there were no female Custodes before that, so that's a fact. So to say that a retcon is excusing this is ridiculous. What is excusing the retcon? What is the excuse for the retcon? Is there excuse for this action? No. Is there any logic to this? No. It's out of the blue. I mean, there's a lot of things in 40K that, I mean, he also will say that lore is not lore, it's fluff. We're going to reach that part. But everything is lore. There's very like tiny little stories, and they're also in tiny little novels, and all of that. It might be somewhere there in the universe, and that, not as significant as a Horus Heresy story, but it's still there, it still happened, and it's still lore, it's still canon. So to retcon something, you gotta give a reason for it. You gotta say why. Why did we do this? Oh, of course, we're going to be honest and open and have some integrity and let you know why did we do this. But no, they just said there were always female Custodes in the lore, as if no one read the books, no one read the previous codexes, no one played the tabletop, nothing. So there's a lot of things that are a problem here. One is the principle has been broken. You are breaking the principle of, well, we're putting something in the lore and we are just going to lie why we're not going to say why. That's one thing. We're going to lie that it has always been there. So a principle, honesty between the company and obviously the consumer is broken. The trust is broken between the two sides when you say something like this. All the people that always have painted Custodes, play Custodes, love Custodes, Henry Cavill included, all of a sudden were informed that they are basically idiots. They what, never knew that there were female Custodes in the lore? Are you a dumbass? Are you an idiot? What are you? You know, it's just so disrespectful that it's unbelievable. Literally like, hey, did you know that the sky was red all of this time? What? The sky was blue all of this time. No, no, it was red. You're just an idiot. You didn't see it. Are you color blind? All of a sudden, like, what is happening to you? Well, what? The sky is blue. You know, so yeah, king of gaslighting. So a retcon is not always justified, not at all. Like most times, retcons are not justified. There are some cases in comic books where retcons did improve the story, but that's not one of those cases because answer the question, how is this helping? How is this adding to the lore? How is this good for female factions? How is this good to male factions? How is this good to the Custodes in general? What is this adding to the Custodes basically? Why they were not enough being only men Custodes? Because you can always add men to Sisters of Battle all of a sudden, and what become Brothers of Battle. We talked about this before. But yeah, if it doesn't make sense for the sisters, it doesn't make sense for the Custodes. Sisters of Battle, how many other people actually pointed out, are extremely awesome and they do complement Custodes, and the Custodes complement the Sisters of Battle, and it's super cool when men and women help each other, and super cool when, in this case, a male army can fight shoulder to shoulder with a female army. It's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to see. It's magnificent. You know, the Custodes, they don't have any psychic attack defense, and right there and there, they have the Sisters of Silence protecting them. It's great. It's great. So when you put a woman there, you know, in the Custodes, doesn't really add anything. It's just like, you know, it's like, okay, but why? I mean, it was like just way cooler, and now they just look so much like the Warhammer Fantasy warriors that, you know, I mean, I already watched that, some of the animations about, you know, that part, Age of Sigmar, all of that. They're cool and all, but they're already there, already doing things. Things are just not the same there in the universe. So if you're going to add something, you gotta make it meaningful, you gotta make it impactful. But now, as far as I understand, on the tabletop, the Custodes are nerfed and people don't want to play them anymore. So what now you're telling people that Custodes are weaker because they have women in it? That what is that? Is that a respect towards the Custodes? Is that a respect towards women in general? And being in like making this faction that is the strongest, absolutely the strongest army that you can have on the tabletop, like weaker. How is that great? They were freaking Custodes, the strongest warriors after the Primarchs. Uh, I just, there are just so many things that are wrong here. It's an avalanche of stuff that GW has to like try to tie up. There's so many like loose ends that are happening all over the place. But if they didn't add women to the Custodes, there will be absolutely no problem because the faction is already thought out the way that it should be. It has a whole. It's a complete whole. It does not. It's not like a part of something. They're complete, like army. They're perfect the way that they are. That they're great. You don't need to add anything to remove anything. They're great. You don't need to nerf them. They're what they're supposed to be. I mean, their epicness is extremely famous. How epic they are, how unique they are, the way that they are made is a mystery. They're so much stronger than any Astartes. Just... So, you know, I mean, everyone loves women in the lore. Everyone loves the women armies. Those armies, though, need more to them. They do need more lore. They do need maybe more cooler additions to them somehow. They don't need to make them uglier, how they did with Sisters of Battle. Because how is respecting women if you're just making them uglier for no apparent reason, and you are putting the prices higher than ever before while selling a lower quality models. I mean, talking about once again about Sisters of Battle and how they look, instead of just I mean, if you're a fan, you just can go and order whatever, somebody's better 3D model of actually normal looking Sisters of Battle. So there's that. Okay, playing the video because it's just
Anything
so
else?
long.
So, of course, with gaslighting comes, we also got claims that Amazon was at fault because there's this persistent belief going back literally decades that Games Workshop is about to go under at any possible moment, and that some company like Hasbro or apparently Amazon is going to swoop in and buy them out. To the fact that where people actually believe that Games Workshop is always trying to devalue itself somehow to be bought out. Not only is this ridiculous, because that is not how companies work. A properly run company, especially one that's publicly traded, is always trying to increase its value, which makes it more valuable when it is bought out. And a company like Amazon doesn't have the ability, just by signing a contract saying that they are going to pitch a show, not even a contract that says they are currently making a show, just that they are pitching a show and have rights to work with Games Workshop's IP and with the company to create this pitch, doesn't give them any leverage to control how Games Workshop does it. Even if they did get a show, they aren't going to have the rights to do so. We were talking about Games Workshop. They are notoriously stingy with how the IP works. They have been very good about keeping companies that were sometimes larger than them, to include publishing companies. Besides, something that people are overlooking or maybe are not aware of is that we have a minimum 6 months between when a book is set to publish and when it is released. Honestly, after COVID, I would actually probably put it closer to 9 months. This book would have been sent off to publishing before Amazon even approached them about.
Okay, so we are not there. We do not know. The thing with Amazon was a speculation. It's not like a proven fact or anything, but that doesn't mean that the other companies that are breeding GW's neck, they're not behind this. I mean, nobody, as far as I saw, stated this as a fact. They all stated it as a rumor, me as well, because it was. So a lot of people pointed out that most likely, even if it's not Amazon, it's definitely just the other companies that are breathing down GW's neck, that are making them do this. So, sorry about that.
Potentially making a show. I'm sorry. Anybody who thinks that, we magically have a situation where Amazon is going to, produce a show right now is probably mistaken. Honestly, most of the codexes we're getting right now were probably finished or being finished when the edition launched at the latest. It's entirely possible Games Workshop had all these codexes done before the edition, which would honestly explain a lot, but we'll have to kind of keep watching that as we go and figure that one out. Now, of course, there is one more claim that has been coming out of the woodwork, and that is that Vanguard or BlackRock or sometimes who knows who else, investment company-wise, is somehow trying to force DEI practices on Games Workshop. And if you've ever even heard of the word stock market, that should sound pretty stupid to you. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is just a gross misunderstanding of how stocks work. In short, a stock is a promissory note of sort. A company asks for money in exchange for dividends that will be paid in the future. This is done to give the company a certain amount of capital going into either launching itself.
Okay, wait a second. No, the strongest faction is orcs. Okay, I always talking about, in my head is they're always the human factions mostly, because stories are my favorites as well. So there's that. There's there's whichever the Custodes mess. If they leave it just one, then she can burn the Star Child from Prophecy to Emperor Reborn. Okay, that is the only way I see GW put stop a bit stopping this out of control ever. Well, the Star Child should join the Emperor and become a part of him, because that is what the last book says, that someday the Star Child, which is also growing somewhere in power and in size probably, should join the Emperor and they can become one again. He will get his empathy, sympathy, all of the good qualities ever that the Star Child is consistent of, and then we're going to see the true Emperor. So that's kind of like the idea. Hi, Dungus as well. And the Arab says he went to this whole length just to justify something which a large portion of the fan base doesn't like. Who knows how it will translate to profit? What matters is that GW should note critique too. Yeah, they should freaking note critique too.
Some companies will, open stock trading early on or before it starts to expand. And Games Workshop has been on the stock market in England since 1994. 30 years it has been on the stock market. Games Workshop is not being mishandled by external companies. Its biggest shareholders are investment firms that build portfolios. That's right, they are just a stock among a group of stocks that is used because they have a slow but steady rate of growth. In recent years it's been a little bit higher, which has caused the stocks to spike in value before.
Okay, but freaking changing, adding female custodies to the custodies did not help anyway, did it?
Coming back down again, that sort of result is fairly normal coming out of COVID. A lot of companies have had similar results. The thing is that unless a company owns a majority of the shares and stocks, they don't have control of basically anything. Now, they could team up together and try to leverage support, but even if you put BlackRock and Vanguard together, they don't have enough control over the shares to be able to leverage anything. Basically, they get the same rights any other stockholder does. They get to vote on board members and CEO, and they get paid dividends, and that's about it most of the time. Now, there may be situations where they get votes on things like stock splits.
Okay, let's say that GW decided on their own and not any of the other companies influenced them to make these DEI decisions. Then GW are to blame completely. So is that like hooray, awesome? No, they're still to blame.
Or stock mergers or buybacks or a number of other things, usually involving their rights as stockholders. But when it comes to the day-to-day management of the company, that's not what they're doing. Companies like BlackRock and Vanguard buy stocks based on their performance, but they also buy stocks based on specific other attributes, which is where the diversity, equity, and inclusion ratings that they use come in at. They want companies that meet certain additional metrics on their own before they buy stocks from them. That's it. And they're usually not buying the stocks directly from the companies. They're buying them on the open stock market, which means they're probably buying them from other people who already own those stocks. This is just generally how the stock market works. This isn't a conspiracy, I'm sorry. There isn't some woke rogue agent trying to force down the value of Games Workshop, which of course brings us back to what's all this hubbub over ice? Well, it's the thing that I wish would stop. It's woke spotting. It is an attempt by people who don't like specific changes to tar those changes with a brush, in this case calling it woke or calling it DEI, or forced representation or who knows what other random nonsense is good.
Well, it's not a random nonsense. Forced representation is a thing, and it has been happening for years now. It is forced. That is what it is. It is forced because it doesn't make any sense. Stories before in anything, books, games, movies, TV shows, used to be written for a particular reason. To make sense, to tell you something, to teach you something, some kind of moral of the story. Something cool or something interesting or something thrilling or something scary, and it has to make sense, because if it doesn't make sense, it's bad writing. It's just not a good story. It falls flat on its face. It has no ground to stand on, and this is how it is. So these things are not made up at all, not even a little bit. On the contrary, they're the cancer that is plaguing, that is growing in our society, basically.
Going to come out of their backside next. Basically, what they want to do is they want to claim ownership over an IP, one that they may not even participate with. Let's be honest here, if you're confusing Custodes for Space Marines, your involvement with Warhammer is not very deep, if any.
Yes, because some people on the internet talk even if they don't know what they're talking about. Exhibit A. So yeah, one person that couldn't tell a difference between a Space Marine and a Custodian, but still speaking out when he's not prepared to speak out, that is something that you can see in real life and the internet all the time. They're not the perfect example of a fan. They're not a fan. That's the thing. They're not a fan. They're talking out of their asses. That's not a fan. So you cannot give this example. It's another gaslighting attempt. because it's not an example.
And that's before we get into the fact that a lot of the accounts that are posting these things are ones who try to claim ownership over this thing. Now, it's possible, and I can't speak for completely 100% of every single person who's screaming, unless it's
OBS kind of bugged out for a minute. I'm going to bring it back a little bit if you missed something.
to do is they want to claim ownership over an IP, one that they may not even participate with. Let's be honest here, if you're confusing Custodes for Space Marines, your involvement with Warhammer is not very deep, if any. And that's before we get into the fact that a lot of the accounts that are posting these things are ones who don't talk about the game, they don't talk about the rules of the game, they don't talk about the background setting very much.
Yes, because they're not fans. You're proving you're proving my point right. You're proving my point right. You're talking about accounts that are not fans anyway.
Unless it's to try to browbeat somebody else about how female Space Marines have never existed in the lore, some other thing where they were trying to argue against whatever the change they don't like. No.
Yes, female Space Marines also have never existed in the lore, and the previous first edition, as far as I know from people that actually were there, that never went off, and they were not the equivalent of female Space Marines exactly. Like a prototype, like an early something, and that never took off because people would not buy them. So in any case, they were never a thing.
No, basically they just don't participate unless it's to try to claim ownership of this thing. Now, it's possible, and I can't speak for completely 100% of every single person who's screaming about Games Workshop being woke, or Games Workshop, or woke shop, or whatever other thing we're going to go with here. Woke work woke. At this point, I'm surprised nobody's having a stroke. But the thing is that almost every account that has been screaming about this does not share models online. They do not participate in the online community in any constructive fashion. Their entire involvement is about trying to claim ownership and to gatekeep. And surprise, we're going to be talking about this again, but Games Workshop doesn't want gatekeepers. I know.
Okay, people that try to gatekeep, I mean people that really care, try to gatekeep. Okay, we are gatekeeping here because we don't want nonsense entering the universe. So yeah, and GW don't want gatekeeping. Oh, well, okay, but we're going to, I mean, whether they want it or not, we are protecting their freaking universe, which we happen to love more than they do,
Well, that's a surprise to some people, but that's not what a company wants. They want people to buy their product, not people standing up for.
Well, if they want people to buy their product, they respect the people that try to gatekeep, because they're the ones that stopped buying their product, and they're the ones that will again buy their product if GW gets some balls and integrity and be like, oh, we're sorry, we totally crapped the bed, so we're gonna fix that, and stop writing stupid things in the books like orcs having no gender or something, and transitioning Necrons or Sisters of Battle, which I'm going to cover in the future.
Front of their business telling people to go away. They don't need bouncers. It's not a bar. Now, of course, I'm sure somebody's going to, reply in the comments below that I'm horribly misgeneralizing an entire community of people. But yeah, it's possible. But honestly, when I continue to deal with them online and I fail to see anything from them other than vitriol and sometimes just straight up bigotry, it's hard to see them as actually participating in the community and seeing.
Okay, once again, his whole argument is that those are not real fans and are not participating in the community. But once again, the example that he gave just for one person that is not even a fan originally, and he then proved that he's not a fan originally, it's like anyone saying, oh, well, look at George right there. He's not actually a fan of this universe, but he just said that Superman and Green Lantern are one and the same. And all of a sudden we are going to talk about how all fans are just like this guy and this guy is a fan, where it's clear that he's not a fan and he's just picking out of his ass. But we're going to build a whole gaslight narrative around this guy being a fan and being a representative cutout of the fan base, and how this fan base sucks because this guy sucks. Therefore, all people suck and they don't know what they're talking about. Oh, totally forgetting that this guy is not fan to begin with. So this is the like taking this something and just trying to make the camera blurry as far as I can do it, you know. Oh, had to sit. Never heard of him. Well, yes, he does sound annoying. BitsHammer is a guy that's very popular on Twitter. He is usually saying a lot of things that he's either not prepared to talk about. He loves to call people names. He calls some women birthers. That never that don't agree with him. He called the guy a birther. He Oh Jesus, this is just a funny story. There was a guy named Ashley, but he thought that it's a woman. I mean, many people thought that he's a woman, but he's from the UK, so in the UK, Ashley is a male name. So this guy had great arguments why female space marines could not exist. But BitsHammer took this as him saying, as Ashley saying that he is reducing the female space marines or the women in general only to their birth organs, which Ashley was not. He was just explaining very well how things are in general with the gene seed and you know the women becoming space marines and how that will go, and how if women became Astartes that will ruin the population and all those things, which are logical things, basically, and does not reduce women to their birth organs at all. It's just that women do have some purpose, and some women do have the purpose and want to be mothers. Oh, oh, oh! This is a shock to everyone. Oh my gosh! Nobody ever knew that the women want to be mothers. Some women want to be mothers, of course. So, so yeah. So he once again gaslit this person, and although Ashley had great arguments, BitsHammer decided to call him a birther. And a birther, then he explained what that is, and it is a person that reduces a woman only to her reproductive organs. And then he proceeded to call a lot of other women that as well that don't agree with him, which is ridiculous for him to call a woman someone that will reduce a woman only to her birth organs. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's totally, I don't know, it's just so such a huge gaslight, and it's such a contradictory thing that you can just spin around in circles and go crazy when you try to think about all the gaslighting that BitsHammer does. And before, like a year ago, I even forgot that I covered a huge scandal between Major Kill, the Templar Institute, and BitsHammer, because BitsHammer was advocating for uh, female space marines, and was talking about ridiculous biology. So it's like biology doesn't matter, so let's just ignore it. And it was like a few posts of nonsense, basically, and straw man arguments, and just non arguments at all. Forgetting everything that's supposed to make any sense. So that was like a year ago. But since then, there's a lot of people reporting on what he's doing, and some tweets I think are deleted because you can't find them. And yeah, and it's a long story, guys. We gotta get to the part of the video that he actually shows my video, so we got to get to that part. Uh, and it says, of course, should have seen this coming from him, lying, calling people racist, sexist, homophobes, and other such nonsense. I've met people like him in real life, you mean? All of them were Yankees from the big cities. Oh, really? Jesus. And dear Ivy says, it's insane. Yes, that's contradictory to his holier than thou attitude. What do you mean? Male or female, you are all the same to us in the city of Gomorrah. Pain. Yes, that's actually a good reminder, Edward. Thank you. Because yes, if they're female Astartes, if they're female Custodes, they're probably going to die a horrible death. So do these people like BitsHammer really want to put women in that situation? Because they're going to be there with the Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence. They're going to die in horrible, horrible deaths. But you do want to be put the you do want to put more people, more women in these positions to die horrible deaths. So that's not a problem at all. We don't think about that. It's good. So yeah, Warhammer does not discriminate. Everyone are going to die an amazing, horrible, horrible death anyway. So that's the good thing about Warhammer. If you're there, if you're fighting, you're just gonna die anyway. And that's okay. And Sid says, you're a boy, great, here's your last gun for the Emperor. You're a girl, great, here's your last gun for the Emperor. You don't know who you are, great, here's your last gun for the Emperor. Oh, thank you for that, that's amazing, yeah. Yeah, and of course there's tons of women in the Astra Militarum. BitsHammer, there's tons of women in the Astra Militarum. Did you forget about that? There's tons of women again, I mean, they're literally forgetting actual women that are actually there, they're fighting, they're doing their duty. Why we are not mentioning them? Why? Because all of that nonsense, the real nonsense, is contradicting itself. We want women here, we want women there. We are forgetting about the women that are already there and doing amazing things. What about the Inquisitors women that are badass? And there are even more than that. There's women in the Tau that are badass. There are women in the Eldar that are badass. There are, well, some female Necrons, obviously, although they're just machines. They don't have private parts. But also they are females there as well that are doing things. But, you know. Did he complain it okay for no female Custodes or something? Blade, he complained that people that don't see the logic and don't like female Custodes to be there because they don't make any sense, that all of those people that are long fans from 30 plus years or less, but still real fans, that they basically are not really complaining, that some of them just manufacture this and it's not really real, so a lot of people are not actually complaining, so it's all manufactured and it's nonsense, basically. So all the fans that actually complain, they're nonsense. Yes. You gotta watch the stream from the beginning for more context, of course. He acts like the voice of reason and maturity, yet he seems to be throwing mud in everyone's faces. Yeah, because you can't see very clearly if you have a lot of mud in your face, You grew up in a small town, moved to the city. I hate it. Well, okay, that's interesting. Two full imperial factions that are women only. Well, it's not enough. It's not enough, obviously, for some people. Let's forget about them. Just just put more women everywhere where it doesn't make any sense. Yay.
More that their hobby is trying to force everyone they don't like out. Because let's be honest here, you can name every single Space Marine in the Horus Heresy from memory, or no.
Wait a minute, what's that? The newest homebrew chapter, the Base Marines? Purging the galaxy of all filth, stench, protector of children, an eradicator of small hat wearing big nose xenos that reveal rebel and genocide and human colonies across the stars that put on display to children their what? Not gonna read that on YouTube. And fantasies and co-ed progression. Note, due to the pH, what is that? In this group, I've just put some love hearts over the... Aha. Okay. Jesus. Okay, well, that's another thing, I guess.
How many braids are Shadowsun's ponytail? Or been playing since Rogue Trader launched in 1987, they will still call you a tourist if you think that Games Workshop's games are for everyone. And this isn't the first time this has happened.
Well, actually, no, because real fans that have played for years, and I know some of them, they actually would then, by this logic, call me a tourist as well. Because I'm not playing the game or I'm not in the hobby for so long. Yes, I'm not. But I had made my mission to study it and to actual paying Custodes as well, and to study the lore and to analyze it to such an extent that I've never seen anyone on YouTube, not even Luton do. But you haven't seen that because that was, 2 years ago. And I have to make new videos about that, I guess, because no one see them. But the point is that if you are a dedicated fan, if you invest a ton of time to catch up, to learn, and to see what it is, to understand it, to feel it, to know it, nobody is going to call you a tourist if they see that you actually gain all of that knowledge in such a little time. You understand it, you can talk to them, you can analyze it correctly. All of that, people will respect everyone that are willing to do those things, really. So people are not bigots, truly. They're just fans that respect that. And if you respect that, if you get later, even if you get later on in a hobby, and you earn, you earn your place there because you actually know now what you're talking about. You spend the time and everything. You dedicated a lot of energy on this. Then no person that has any respect to anyone would call you a tourist. So that is a false narrative here that he's saying.
Unfortunately, don't think it's going to be the last. Though the Trench Crusade thing gives me hope because they've been horribly embarrassed themselves recently, and it's great. And nothing takes the wind out of their sails quite like public embarrassment like that. So when I say it's not the first time, we saw them raise a stink. Now, granted, they weren't as vocal then. This was still before Trump got elected, or shortly thereafter. I'll be honest here, the exact year it happened eludes me, but when Arch Warhammer, also known as Archcast, or just Arch, had Games Workshop issue him a cease and desist to take the Warhammer out of his name and his brand, and then contacted World of Warships and told them that Arch was blacklisted from working on any Games Workshop related promotions. They got upset. Now, like I said, there weren't as much of a vocal percentage. We had more moderation in social media at the time. We also had them less emboldened to be a whole freaking circus of clowns, to be honest. But we also saw them do the same nonsense in 2020 when Games Workshop published Warhammers for Everyone. Part of what they were trying to do for...
Okay, we almost get to that point of the video, but okay, last two comments. Hi to McDougal. Hi to you. Hey, Lady Ronstar, you're here as well. Oh, thank you for being here. Okay, so McDougal says no one is stopping people from getting into the game. Thank you. Learn about it and related questions, simple as there's no reason to ask off-topic questions that have no reason to be asked. And Sid says the tourists always have this holier than thou attitude to them. They always preach some nonsense and demand the setting to accommodate them. You're not a tourist if you're genuinely interested. Exactly, that's how real fans are, as I said. So reality does not correspond to what he's saying. Like, not even a little bit. And Lady Rosong says, hello, tried watching this video, but can't stand his voice and he's such a little liar. Well, now we can do this together and we just have to get to the 22nd minute, 22nd and some seconds, and that's it. That's where he shows my video. Yeah.
A couple of years, really, was trying to claim that, no, Warhammer is for, and I quote, anyone, end quote. And the reason they would do this is they were trying to play semantics. They wanted to try to redefine it to say that it can't be for everyone. So it has to be for anyone. And if it's for anyone, then they can exclude people because it may not be for you if you have any complaints about it whatsoever. Because, let's be honest here, they don't understand that the true longest running hobby of the community is complaining about things that Games Workshop does. We do it because we care, even when we're annoying about it. But they have chosen this belief that, no, you can't have any requests from Games Workshop at all, because then it's not for you. You want to change things. You want things to be different. You don't respect the lore, except for the fact that it's fluff, not lore.
Okay, we get to the fluff part, guys. So yeah. Like I've said, anything is lore when it's canon, and if it's canon, and that's it. Even the smallest story, the smallest novel, if it comes out, if it came out from GW, it is canon. So it's not. Yeah, it could be more of a filler to the lore. There's a lot of things that are filler in the books, and I said that many times, but it's still freaking lore. You know, I might find it not very interesting or not very relevant or whatever, but it is a part of the lore. It happened, it's there.
The canon has never existed by their own admission, in that they're basically just creating a false idol that they hold up and claim that is the true Warhammer that doesn't look anything like Warhammer. And we saw the same group of people, only louder this time because, surprise, surprise, it involves a black person.
Okay, that's another topic now with the black person. Okay, so the fact that there is no canon, it's literally false. False here, guys. Hi to Quinn. Hi to Quinn. The man speaks heresy. The Black Library wants to have a word. Hundreds of books equates to fluff now, does it? Yeah, according to him, probably. It's funny what he says. It's exactly what woke gatekeepers say. Don't like our changes? That maybe is not for you. 1000% he's a Tao player. I don't like his voice. The only fluff here is the fluff in his head. Yeah, waiting for the but there is no canon and unreliable narrator strawman. Yes. Lady Runson says, by this logic is lore. If lore is fluff and canon doesn't exist, then we are allowed to ignore female custodies just like he ignores that Astartes are male only. Exactly, Lady Runson, thank you so much. The real official amazing Adam says, why is the lore some of the best science fiction I have ever read? You mean why is Warhammer's lore? But okay, going a bit back on what he said, yeah, there's a lot of things in the lore that have changed through the years. We have talked about this many, many times. There's always some kind of a main line of things, how things are happening in the lore. There's some lore that is concretely written, like the fact, and already established, like the fact that space marines are always male, the emperor exists, the primarchs exist. The primarchs are what they are. Now, the primarchs, obviously, in current times, some are dead, which they can always be brought back if it makes sense. If it doesn't, then just don't do it if you can't think about it. But that's a thing that's like a continuation of the lore. That is something that can happen. It's an open thing. But to say that the lore is not canon, I mean the lore does not exist basically. That's ridiculous. There's so many things that are set in stone, and so many things that have like this floating element to them, like the fight between the Emperor and Horus was not set in stone exactly how it happened. The details of the fight were not set in stone, so we got them in the last book. Now, the last Siege of Terra book, The End and the Death Part 3. So there's things that are just floating and we don't have exact answer to, and there are things that are added to the lore, like the whole lore basically about the Necrons, that they have developed them eventually. That's like additions. When it's like such a huge retcon, that's just such a huge retcon is when you do something that wasn't there before, but you do it anyway. That's a huge retcon. And then people will raise eyebrows. Because it's not even explained, and therefore it does not make any sense. And when it doesn't make any sense, it's bad writing, it's gaslighting, and it disrespects everything that came before that. Fans as well, lore as well, female characters as well, Custodes as well in this case, because it's about the Custodes. And if you make female space marines, and we know very well how they are created, now there's gonna be there's gonna be total bullcrap. It's bullshit. That's why people say, oh, it's bullshit because of this. That's like the exact example and definition of bullshit. Now, let me see your comments before I continue. My man Olanias Pius got retcon because of people like BitsHammer. Yeah, great. So with his logic, I can paint my Space Marines any way I want. I can paint them as Iron Wars, as Black Legion, and say that they are loyalists. And he can't say I can because lore isn't a thing. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You can say that some of the Primarchs never turned bad, and they were always amazing. And, Fulgrim is not Demon Prince. No, not even a little bit. He can maybe become even stronger Demon Prince in the future, but you can say that never happened. Why are we even reading the books? Why? Yeah, so about this guy, I, I forgot that I saw that when we had our talk with Lady Runesong before. If you haven't seen that, guys, you gotta watch it. It's one of the latest streams here on the channel. I saw models of Space Marines, and some of them were black, and I never seen a tabletop figure like that. So I honestly asked, was that a thing before? And apparently it is. Now, in the lore, I don't know how this is consistent for Primarchs. I mean, if the Primarch is, obviously in this case, is Gilliman, he is white and blonde hair and blue eyes. Not every one of the the Custodians are going to look like him. Some do, some don't. Can the gene seed go so far off that just to switch race? I mean, on the surface level, it doesn't make any sense. But I don't know if the lore is very consistent here in this particular thing, if they ever explain that. If they didn't, maybe that's why they can just do it, you know? So, I can't really say about that, how this is supposed to be. But maybe they should really get those things straight, but maybe also they don't want to get those things straight and clear, because then they won't be able to do this, you know? I've been playing tabletop games and Warhammer before all of this, and now I'll be playing it long after this. We must weather things as we always done.
Or black character. You see, we got a novel that had Captain Felix on it, and it turned out he's black. And it turns out the idea of a black
Your primary Space Marines are now Iron Wars and Black Legion. Okay.
Ultramarine horribly
And my Custodes, that I just finished today, by the way, yay, are chicken nuggets. Actually, they're chicken nuggets.
offended some of these people, to include Arch, who had a whole video on the idea that, about black Space Marines being a problem. There were people who legitimately argued, well, I shouldn't say legitimately, because their arguments were not legitimate, but they actually argued the stupidest things, like the idea that only salamanders can be black Space Marines. They argued that all Space Marines look like their Primarchs, which definitely isn't true, because
yeah, that's not true. And salamanders are not black people. They are people with black skin. Yeah.
if you look at the Horus Heresy, we see it called out very specifically that somebody looks like Horus, to the point they call him Little Horus as a nickname. Or you can just look at pictures of Space Marines. Marnius Calgar does not look like Gilliman. Cato Sicarius does not look like Marnius Calgar or Gilliman. He looks like his own person, Now, it is true, there are aspects about the Primarchs that do show up more often. For example, Emperor's children do tend to have white hair a lot more commonly. The Imperial Fist tend to look like they're bricks in how their faces look. This is normal, it's fine. Part of it is how the gene seed causes the body to express certain things through, magical hormones and whatever. But it's a trend. It's not an exact clone. These are not Primarch clones. They are not exact copies. Not even close. I mean, if
And they're not.
they were, the salamanders would have a natural African skin tone and not be described as literally coal black. Kind of a big difference there between the ethnicity and literally the color of coal. Those are not the same things. But we had these stupid arguments, and, obviously it really outed the group, a large part of the group, for what they were. Horrible bigots. I hate to tell you this, but if you're freaking out that a Space Marine can be black just because he's not a salamander, you are not a good person. Your whole life probably needs to be rethought from day one. Go back to start, and do not pass go. Do not collect $200. That is not okay. There is something horribly wrong with the way you look at the world. And of course, a year After
Sadly, the video is gone, but Arch only said that it was odd that the Jinxie hadn't given the Black Ultramarines a trait or two of Gilliman. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah.
we had Warhammers for everyone, we also had them throw a massive fit when Games Workshop responded to a tournament in Spain that involved a player who had gone by the moniker, quote, Austrian painter, unquote.
But that's so old. I don't know why he's bringing this up.
Who wore Nazi symbols to include a swastika made of swastikas. And GW said, we don't want Nazis at our events. We don't want you wearing symbols of actual real-life hate groups. We don't want you. We do not want you as customers. We do not want you at our events. We do not want your money.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, as far as I understood, this guy wasn't an actual, but why are you bringing this up, really?
And for some reason, they got really offended at this. For some magical reason that they tell me they're not Nazis, but they get really upset anytime somebody says Nazis can't be involved in something. When somebody's literally wearing Nazi symbols, they get upset when they're told, no, you can't do this. It really doesn't make any sense to them. If you're not a Nazi, you should not be offended when people say we don't want Nazis. If you tell me no Nazis, I'm like, cool, that's great. I love that idea. I don't want to deal with any fucking Nazis either. But they got mad. And they, of course, got mad again with this Custodian change. And it's not ending. They tried to also get mad that a Sisters of Battle novel that came out 2+ years ago has a trans character mentioned. Except
Jesus Christ, man.
For it's not even a main character. The scene in question.
It doesn't matter if it's a main character or not. You give them a hand, they're going to take your whole arm. That's the thing. It's just one by one, bits by little pieces. Yeah, just one by one. They're just trying to get those things there that they exist.
Has a Sister of Battle talking to a ship's captain. The captain mentions that he has a friend who took the same name as the Sister of Battle from a book called the Book of Heroes when that friend transitioned. The Sister of Battle doesn't even bat an eye at the idea of it.
So what he's trying to imply, that guy isn't a representative of the fans who critique GW on this current matter. The people who backed out against that player are cowards. Beating him at the game would have been a bigger win than walking away. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. And just ask him, hey, why did you dress this way? Why would you do this? What's the idea? Is this like a Comic-Con? Are you cosplaying? Like, what's happening here? That sounds like an activist writer adding nonsense to me. Yes, that's what happened. And of course, this wanker is bringing up the Spanish guy wearing the general's suit. Yes, Sid, yes.
A trans person, because, and the author has confirmed this, James Swallow has said the idea that trans people exist would not be a big deal by then. The Sister of Battle was more embarrassed that her name was even in the Book of Heroes because she didn't feel worthy. But they looked at this and they freaked out the idea that Games Workshop mentioned trans people. Not that, especially as humans, because and if they understood anything, they'd probably be upset that we had in the Gazgul novel the fact that orcs do not have male and female genders.
I have to talk about this in a separate video. And yeah, we're getting to that point of the video finally. But Jesus Christ, man, those things do not belong in this universe. A Sister of Battle is concerned only with whether or not she can serve the Emperor correctly or not. She doesn't care about herself that much. She cares about the Emperor, she cares about the Imperium, her duties. That is it. So fitting something like that is so small and does not, it doesn't matter in the lore, in the story. It's horrible. It just sticks out like a sore thumb. It's in the middle of nothing, and I cannot say that it doesn't matter, because then we will say, why are you putting it there? Then it doesn't matter. And then the orcs. The orcs are obviously men. I mean, yeah, okay, they don't know what genders are and whatever, but they grow from spores or whatever, but they grow as men. They act like men. They act like men that are orcs. That's obvious. I mean, show this to any kid, he will ask, oh, who is that guy, orc? Or whatever. He will not think that this is ma'am. Is this a ma'am? No? Is this an it? Like, what is this? It's an orc. Orcs are more men than, although they could, maybe they don't have anything down there. Maybe they don't pee. I don't know what they have to pee with. Who cares? But to say that they're like non, I mean, neither here or there, they, to the very least, they look male, like very male, very manly male. So manly male that my screen is gonna crack from the manliness of this work, So we can just deny that they look muscular and manly and super duper strong. We're just gonna deny that totally. Okay.
They have no gender. Boys is probably as close to a gender as you're going to get. When they are...
Well, boys, it's clear. It's clear not that the word boys, which comes from a man, may... Jesus Christ, I mean, it's so ridiculous. You have to explain that.
Translated into, what we can read as English, which is, most likely low Gothic in the setting, the pronouns used for Gasgul are they and them. Third-person pronouns.
Since when? I mean, yeah, I'm going to cover this book, but was that the case before? I never heard of this before.
And, if they understood it, they'd probably be upset. But instead, they like to roll out orcs and go, but you want female Custodes, or you want female Space Marines. What about Misters of Battle? Or what about female orcs? Well, we need to have male orcs first. But they don't understand.
How about leaving the orcs as they are? Because that's enough.
That because they don't read the books. Granted, I can't seem to get anybody to read the Gasgul novel, even with by telling them there's a lesbian inquisitor involved. I don't know why people will not freaking read some things sometimes. I give recommendations based on stuff I've read. It's a good book. It's really enjoyable. You get to learn a lot about Gasgul. I'm sorry he doesn't spend the entire book making kissy faces with Yarrick, if that's what you wanted, but it's still...
Yeah, lady, is in this book, it's one passage. I'm gonna play the book when I get to cover this. The audio part when this is happening and show you the passage. So yeah, it's one of those things, out of nowhere conversation, and it is apparently obvious that one of the orcs is not a man, it's just they and them. Great.
A good story. Now back on track before I tangent myself into a knot. I have obviously not listed every single bit of manufactured outrage that's come from...
Here I am. So this is the manufactured part that he was talking about. He shows this video that is obviously about one of these articles, the article that was written in 2022, and a lot of people didn't didn't see it. I mean, we missed it then. But it seems that it was one of those things that influenced GW to do what they do today. It really seems this way. So I covered this, and it was about, obviously, trans Space Marines, or integrating trans Space Marines in the Space Marines. The guy that was writing these articles advocating for that to happen and was saying a lot of things that were absolutely ridiculous. But this video is about the female Custodes, and he's showing something that I'm talking about. Like, I mean, I have videos about female Custodes, and he chose to show something that's not connected to that at all. So that's kind of weird. So yeah, he thinks that I am one of those people that are creating this manufactured outrage because, oh my gosh, the outrage actually does not exist and it has no ground to stand on. But wait, Bates, no, we actually proved in the stream that yes, it has a lot of ground to stand on, and it's thousands of people that will never buy the GW products ever again. So,
from that vocal part of that is made up of people who want to stir up controversy, either as an excuse to try to force people out of the community or for clicks on the internet because they want...
Great. Says the person without any lack of integrity, not even a little bit of it. Lady, I wonder if you watched it. I doubt it. I really doubt that.
Attention and easy grift money, like Gums. Yeah, Grums is definitely on that latter camp. Same for Arch, because Arch doesn't do a lot of narrative content anymore. He likes to instead discussing the fluff, hang out with actual open facts.
Well, Grumps is actually doing a lot for the community. So yeah, we're going to have to stop here because I'm already 1 hour and 25 minutes in this, and then he starts talking about other things once again. He's all over the place, so this is quite enough to endure. But yeah, I'm surprised that I'm there out of all the people that actually cover this. I don't know if I should be flattered or what. I don't know, or just I really don't know. It's just crazy to me that he picked me exactly with the wrong video, no less. Hold on. What did he say about you? Well, he just showed the video, like you saw, and basically called me. I mean, said that I'm one of those people that manufactures things. I'm coming with this scandalous stuff out of my butt, you know? You're totally not outraged, really, about the female Custodes. You totally think that they make sense in the lore, and you totally accept them, and you're not totally gonna stop buying GW products, not even a little bit, right? Right? I just imagined it. Everything. He assumes a great deal about the channel. It's obvious he didn't watch closely. He just assumes it's an arch wannabe because helps his own manufactured outrage. Well, he doesn't say that I'm an arch wannabe, but you know, Grumps is doing a lot unlike this clown. Yeah, he shows a woman's video and doesn't even care that the woman doesn't want this. Well, he doesn't really think like that when it's about women that he doesn't agree with, as we know. And the printer goes brrr. Yes, Dark. You know, he lost because he started insulting those he disagrees with. Yep. People like him are pathological liars. Had to deal with them for sometimes. Yeah. I know how that it is. I mean, how those people can be. I also saw them in real life. You just stay away, like so away from them that you just stop all contact, basically. As Jeremy Clarkson learned in S3 of Clarkson's farm, mushrooms are space. What? I cannot read that. Orcs are mushrooms? Yes, space. Okay, that's funny. I'm gonna say space oaks. Okay, I'm gonna say oaks. Remember, kids keep politics out of your hobbies, probably. That, but I don't see it from my heart on the screen that I have in the chat. Okay, guys, so that's gonna be it for BitsHammer. I can't believe the last video I did was a year ago about him. And thank you all for joining. We're going to see, but yeah, really, I have those two passages from that Glasgow book, and the other one is about the Necrons. And the Necron that was a matriarch, I mean, that was a patriarch, but now she is a, I just can't, she's a matriarch. So, yeah, because Necrons in their thinking heads care only about their private parts and pronouns and gender identities. You can't feel a woman with this metal skirt, George? No, George, I can't. Okay. Okay, guys. I love you. I love you so. And yeah, so ridiculous. Thank you for joining, and we'll see each other very soon. Everything's down there if you'd like to support me. And yeah, love you so. Bye bye.